Mission Atlantic, to ensure a sustainable future for the Atlantic Ocean. Integrated Ecosystem Assessment, or IEA, is a holistic approach to managing ecosystems by evaluating the cumulative impacts of natural variation and human activities. It follows an IEA loop that starts with scoping the system, together with stakeholders developing indicators, analysing the risks from and to different parts of the system, testing potential future scenarios under natural and anthropogenic change, and refine focuses on revising and improving the assessments based on the outcomes and insights gained from earlier stages in the cycle. This process helps balance trade-offs between ecological health, social well-being, and economic viability, ensuring sustainable use and conservation of ecosystem services. Scenario testing tracks the hypothetical implementation of management strategies under environmental change and their effects on the ecosystem. Meanwhile, the continuous monitoring of key indicators to assess progress towards objectives allows for adjustments in strategies based on real-time information and changing conditions. In this video, we step back from the detailed methods, tools and approaches utilised throughout the IEA cycle to consider the broader utility of our work. Our guide, Vicente, introduces a dose of humility as we consider what the ultimate aims of an IEA, or indeed any attempts at describing and managing the natural world, should be. By considering the diversity of expertise and experience that an IEA draws upon, Vicente illustrates that knowledge itself is not enough to enact change or improve the conditions for people and the natural world of which they are part. With support from philosophers from across the ages, our guide demonstrates that it is an ethical imperative that researchers both share and utilise their knowledge, and that ample consideration is given to the human context in which they are operating and engaging.
Hello everybody, my name is Vicente Gomes. I am from the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Mari Gasalla, Amanda Rodrigues, Julia Petroski and me prepared this presentation to expose our thoughts about what to teach besides science and technology in the context of Mission Atlantic. The application of the countless results obtained in Mission Atlantic after years of effort is the main goal of all scientists involved. What is expected is a complex of carefully established interrelationships so that effective measures can be taken to prevent, manage, and remedy problems that affect the Atlantic Ocean in its most diverse sectors. The project, as the name suggests, is a true mission of great scope and requires a profound engagement. Following these principles, could science alone solve the current problems related to the subject? The answer is very simple and of course is no. But why? Because like everything done by humanity, the practical results of a scientific project depend on the path taken and the way in which the technology generated is applied. Radiation can kill and can help to cure cancer, for instance. The methodology of an integrated ecosystem assessment is broad and inclusive, and it does not only consider scientific data in the strict sense, but the broad knowledge that comes from the history of humanity itself, local people and users, government bodies, social institutions, and so on. Stakeholders or experts on different subjects are heard throughout the process to purify the data, smooth out the rough edges, provide support for improving findings, and guiding the applications of the results. The success of this application will only be complete if there is agreement between the parties. Today, many people agree with one of Spinoza's thoughts, which considers that man cannot place himself as the center of nature, as nature does not have a center in any aspect. His thinking is very different from that of René Descartes, who had a great influence on scientific thought. In a scientific method, of course, we can establish connections considering central axes, but this will always be a partial representation of a bigger process composed of intricate elements which, looked at distance, have no center at all. When considering ourselves as the center of the universe, as egoic men, we tend to consider everything that we don't like as an error, and we try to solve these issues, often interfering in the functioning of natural processes with a great risk of deteriorating them. Solving the issues of nature, contemplating the well-being of humanity, but without destroying the objects of our own interest, requires profound changes in our attitudes and behavior. In this sense, education is at the heart of the matter. One of the main differences between human beings and other animals is our ability to develop philosophical thoughts that, to a certain extent, transcend our basic egoic or egoistic nature. Although philosophy is the mother of science, often when we develop our projects, we sometimes follow pure technical paths, which is not bad in itself. But sometimes we forget that philosophical origins of science and the basic components of a very broad humanistic concept that we may call as ethics. If we consider all the thoughts of the countless philosophers who have dealt with ethics, there would certainly be a vast discussion, as there is no absolute definition of ethics. It can change with cultural and historical traditions, of course. Nevertheless, in a global and modern world, we can put ethics at the perspective of the welfare of human beings as having the same rights and duties. The origin of these concepts are very ancient, as a search for peace and goodwill between people living in society. The golden rule of the Indian text Mahabharata, more than 3,000 years ago, was one of the first ethical guidelines for social behavior, and it said, "Do unto others what you would have done unto you." This directive was almost similar as Confucius' silver rule: "Do not do unto others what you would not do unto you." Both together would bring a very good dose of harmony to our societies, according to the most recent thought of Karl Popper, that joined the two of them into the Platinum Rule. Socrates is among the first philosophers to establish the foundations of ethics, which comes from the word ethos, that means way of acting, behavior. Ethical behavior, according to him, would generate well-being and happiness, as it is guided by virtue, in the sense of doing well with skill, with responsibility. And for this, it is necessary to develop knowledge or science that must be applied with wisdom. He believed that individual happiness is not possible without spreading it around you. This is the basis of the concept of wisdom itself, which is applying knowledge for the common benefit, which can include your own. Plato and later Aristotle, in their books about ethics, deepen these concepts in their vast discussions among intellectuals in the headquarters they founded, that was called the Academy, to develop the best way to reach knowledge. But do we always do science ethically? Do we apply the results ethically? Do we take virtue, prudence, and wisdom in this Socratic sense into consideration? Today there is a strong tendency to resume this crucial discussion for our future, to include great ethics in science. Science should take into consideration that man is not the center of everything, in spite of being our main interest. We must be impelled to apply our knowledge generated by science for the common well-being, which has to include all nature, where the center is everywhere. Greco-Roman concepts of ethics was rescued and expanded by many modern philosophers like Spinoza, Kant, Simone de Beauvoir, Sartre, and many others. They have different positions, but we can apply the broad concepts of ethics to the well-being of humanity and the whole planet with a bit of reflection. An IEA must, in principle, follow these goals, as it aims to be as comprehensive as possible, taking into account not only traditional scientific data, but also knowledge from the various sectors of our society. In our courses, we cannot leave aside the teaching and discussions that modify egocentric attitudes of men, as we have to deal with problems of a complex system that we call as nature, including the impacts that we are generating. During an IEA, there may be specialists on all the subjects, and they can deal with these aspects in depth. But as the IEA methodology itself proposes, everyone must follow the same principles. A humanitarian civilization with ethical values can only be achieved through education that incorporates these values in their broadest sense. This requires, like everything that's done well, a lot of effort, reflection, engagement, methods, and discipline. As scientists, we are invited to take these arguments into consideration and make a joint effort to apply our results with wisdom. Thank you very much.